So students, today we will do question number 16 from elasticity. There is a rectangular bar whose height is h. One side is fixed, and the area of the side which is fixed is A. A shearing force distorts the bar as shown. So they are applying a shearing force. So when you apply force parallel to the surface, you know this whole thing will go this way. Okay. So it will deflect. So the shape will change. And let us say it has moved by a distance x. Proof that. They are asking you proof, which means in MCQ, they will ask you whatever we have to prove. Prove that the work done by the shearing force, work done by this shearing force is equal to, not the force, the work done is equal to sigma square by 2 eta. Now what is what? By mistake, they have done some mistake, into volume of bar. Okay, into volume. So this we have to prove. They have done one small mistake, students. This eta is your shear modulus and your sigma is your stress. What kind of stress? Shearing stress. Okay, so they have mentioned in the question by mistake, this is shear modulus. I think from first PU we use eta for shear modulus. Okay, and assume the deformation this x to be small. So work done they are asking. Now you know that as you apply the force, it will get deformed. And there will be a restoring force, and that restoring force depends on this x. Yes or no? The more is the deflection, the more will be the restoring force according to Hooke's law. So one thing is clear, the force which you have to apply is a variable force. So directly we cannot write force into displacement. Whenever force is variable, directly you cannot write force into displacement. You can do integration, but I have a smarter technique. I will try to skip integration. How I will skip integration? Let me write formula for shear modulus. Solution will start. Formula for any modulus is stress by strain, right? So this is shear modulus. So stress divided by strain. What was strain? This theta, yes or no? This theta was your shearing strain, right? You remember or forgot? So this theta, I can also write x by h. Why I can write x by h? Because this theta is very small. So this is very small. Kirti, you are in the class.
Yes, sir.
Theory class, you were not there, no, today?
I was there, sir.
Samyak, check Kirti is there or not in participants once.
I am there, sir.
He is there, huh? Okay. Have I kept you guys mute or what? Wait, okay, I'll try to unmute all of you. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now it is fine. Okay. So this formula we know already. And for small x, small theta, tan theta is x by h. And since angle is small, tan theta can be written as theta. Okay. So now if I rearrange, I can write fh by ax, which means f will be equal to eta a by h x. Right. So my applied force varies with distance according to this formula. This is the displacement, you can say. So if I plot a graph, of force. Oh, graph is going below. So if I draw a graph, it will be a straight line because it is y proportional to x. So I can calculate the work done by simply calculating the area from 0 to x. Okay, and at that point, let us say the force is F. So I can skip the integration by writing this area. Or you can compare this with spring force. Spring force. Then this will be your spring constant, right? Don't use YA by L. Y is used for wires. Young's modulus is used for rods and all. This is shear modulus. So once I know the relation of force with displacement, I can see the graph now, and work done can be written from 0 to x, from no displacement to this much displacement. Work done is this area. And that area, I think all of you will agree, it is half into base into height. Now, if I write the formula for force, it is from here, it will be eta A by hx, right? Now, how do I show this is this? Quite simple. Half x square eta A by h. Okay, see, sometimes they can ask you in this form also. Now, how do I show this is this? This is stress, no? Stress. And here I need volume of the bar. So to bring the volume, I will do one thing. I will multiply by h and divide by h. Okay, so if I multiply by h and divide by h, it will become h square. Now this is nothing but volume of the bar. This volume. So W is equal to half x by h. See here, x by h. That is nothing but your strain. So this is strain square eta volume. Now they want in terms of stress. So I can write strain as, you know, shear modulus is stress by strain. So if I cross multiply strain, I can write stress divided by eta whole square. So finally this will become half stress, they have given the symbol sigma square, eta divided by eta square in the denominator will be eta into volume. In fact, you could have written directly because you know that that formula, remember, energy density. Energy density formula is what? Half into stress into strain. So energy density is half into stress into strain. From there also you can write this formula directly. So little bit of manipulations and all you have to do. Okay, last question is there now, 17. Finish it fast. Finished? Okay. I think better to solve the same problem by using this concept that energy density is half into stress into strain, which I can write half into stress into strain. I can write stress divided by eta, shear modulus. Then this will be stress into stress, stress square by eta. And energy density means energy by volume. If you cross multiply, volume will come here. And the energy stored is nothing but the work done. So this way, I think better to write the solution, right? It will come faster. So try to memorize this because it is important for your CET exams also. Okay, next question you see. A thin uniform rod of mass capital M and length capital L is free to rotate in a vertical plane like this. The plane is vertical about a horizontal axis, passing through one of its end. The rod is released from horizontal position, released. Calculate the shear stress they are asking, force per unit area. At the center of the rod, immediately after it is released. At the center of the rod, immediately after it is released. Cross-section area they have given capital A, and for calculating moment of inertia, you can consider the rod as a thin rod. So before we continue, let us remember, for a thin rod, if the axis is passing through center, moment of inertia was ml square by 12. M is the mass, L is the length. But if it is passing through one end of the rod, if the axis is not passing through center, but if the axis is here, then moment of inertia, you guys remember, ml square by what was there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What number was here? 3. Very good. You can derive it by parallel axis theorem. After you know moment of inertia here, you can derive moment of inertia here by using parallel axis theorem. But you must memorize formulas of moment of inertia. Very important. Okay. So here our rod is given something like this. And here is the axis. Axis is into the board. And it is released. So when it is released like this, because of its weight, mg, because this is vertical, this is vertical. So because of mg, it will experience a torque about this point. Other forces, whatever forces are acting here, I don't care about that. Why, sir? Because those forces will not produce torque about this point. Okay, now only mg. So torque about O will be R perpendicular into force. R perpendicular is this, which is L by 2. Length of the rod is L. Force is mg. So this much torque is acting about O. That torque from Newton's second law for rotation chapter is moment of inertia about O into alpha. This is Newton's second law. Just like F equal to ma, torque equals to I alpha. So torque about O is L by 2 mg. Moment of inertia about this point O, which is one end of the rod, that is ml square by 3 divided by alpha. Now why I am looking for alpha? Why I am searching for alpha? Because they are asking you to find stress here, stress, shearing stress. So I need to know what force is acting here. Understood or not? So because of this part, not mg. Hey, mg is because of earth. Mg is because of earth, not because of this part of the rod. So and anyways mgx at every point. This is the point center of mass where the whole weight can be assumed to act. Actually mgx at every point. M1G, M2G, M3G, M4G, M5G, M6G, M7G, like that. Everywhere mg will act. The resultant of that is this, which acts at the center of mass. Okay, so don't think this gravity acts only at this point. Then why will this go down? If there was no gravity here, why it will go down? So from here, this both the mass are same actually. There is only one mass in the problem. So one mass cancels, one length cancels. So if I cross multiply, alpha will be 3g by 2l. Okay, let me check with my working. Yeah, fine. Now I need to find force acting here because of this rod. Okay, so what I will do, this much part I will take as system. That trick we have studied last class also. Take this part as system. And for this part, apply Newton's second law. Before that, draw the forces acting. Now, at the center of mass of this rod, which is here, for this rod, for this part of the rod, the force of gravity will act like this. And the mass of this part will be m by 2. And this part will also exert force on this part because we are interested in sharing force. The force will be like this. Okay, so this is the force on this section of the rod by this section of the rod. Students, I hope you guys remember how to apply Newton's second law. First, choose your system. Then draw all the forces acting on the system. How to find forces acting on the system, sir? Simple, search for contacts. Wherever contact will be there, there will be a force. Only non-contact force in first PU was what? Forgot, sir. Huh? Gravity. Only non-contact force was gravity. Other forces are contact forces. Of course, in second PU, you also learned about electrostatic force. So because of this section, there will be a force on this section like this. Now you may be thinking, sir, don't you think there may be another component here? That will not be there. That will not be there because as it is released, the acceleration of this center of mass will be down. Acceleration of center of mass will be down. Now you may think, but sir, it will move in a circle. If it moves in a circle, there should be a centripetal acceleration also towards the center. So there must be some force which will provide centripetal acceleration. So you must consider this force also, sir. In other words, you may think this section will apply a force on this section which may have two components. But students, this will not be there right now. It will not be there right now. Can you guess why it will not be there? Because it was released. If it was released, what is the velocity here with which it starts? If it is simply released, with what velocity it starts? 0. If it starts with zero velocity, what will be the centripetal acceleration? U square by r, which is 0. So since right now there is no requirement of centripetal acceleration, right now there is no requirement. After it starts moving down, then yes, you will need force towards the center also. But right now, this force is not there. So there is only one force which will be, if this is not there, obviously it has to be here. So please remember, centripetal acceleration right now is 0. Okay, centripetal acceleration right now it is 0. So this is the force acting on this part of the rod. So we need to find this force. Let me remove this y component. Or let me also mention, this is force on the right section by the left section. Okay, now let us apply Newton's law to this. How do you apply Newton's law for a system of particles? Net force equal to m acceleration of center of mass. Net force is mg matlab m by 2g plus this force. Mass of this part is m by 2. This is mass of the system, okay? Whichever system you choose. And acceleration is ACL. Now, how to find acceleration? Look here. if you observe, this will go in a circular arc like this. Okay, so if you go back to the old rod, the old one, okay, this is the half, and this point is this point. So if I call this P, this is your P. Now, this P is going in a circular arc like this. Okay, so right now I know it doesn't have centripetal acceleration, but obviously it has tangential acceleration, matlab this acceleration. Okay, and that acceleration, how to write? Alpha into radius. Remember this formula, guys? It is coming from which formula? V equal to R omega. dV by dt equal to R into d omega by dt. And this is speed, not velocity vector, speed. Rate of change of speed is tangential acceleration, R into alpha. Okay. So at this moment, this point only has tangential acceleration. So that will be alpha into R. So alpha we have already found. R will be what for this circle? This is L by 2. This is L by 4. So it will be L by 2 plus L by 4. Okay, 3L by 4. So therefore, here I should write mm, 3L by 4 alpha. So it is interesting to know that at the point of release, when I just release, though it does not have velocity, it has alpha. Immediately it will have alpha because alpha is 3g by L. So alpha will be there immediately, alpha, okay? And since alpha is there immediately, there will be a tangential acceleration immediately. Otherwise, why it will fall down? If this was also not there, this is also not there, then its velocity will not change. It will stay there only. It will stay at rest. So this is necessary, okay? But this is not there. Centripetal acceleration is not there. So I think now it is easy. mg by 2 plus force 3 by 8 ml. Alpha we have found here 3g by 2l. So L gets cancelled. So your force becomes 9 by 16 mg minus mg by 2. This will go that side. So 16 LCM, 9 minus 8 mg. That will be mg by 60. So I have found the shearing force on this end by the remaining part of the rod. So once I know the shearing force here, the shearing stress at the midpoint will be sigma laterals, right? Force at that point, shearing force per unit area. And that is equal to mg by 16a. Very unique problem. You will not find this problem in many textbooks. So such problems you should give importance because they are not as difficult as they look. At the same time, if you can move your hands a little bit fast, and if you remember things properly, fast, you can write. Okay. Now I will end this elasticity chapter by giving you two formulas, which as a good teacher, nobody should ask question based on these two formulas. But sometimes I have seen they ask, and I don't want my students to lose those marks. Okay, so I will give the formula. You guys try to remember. Two form. I think one already in first PU you have seen. So mg always acts at the center of mass of the system which you choose. If you choose the whole rod, mg will act here, right? And all the forces, this force I did not consider here. Why? Because it was internal force inside. So this force I did not consider here. So I took the whole thing as the system, and there was mg here, and there will be some force from the pivot. This is called pivot. But those forces are useless to calculate torque about this point. So first I calculate torque about this point. I calculate alpha. Once I calculate alpha, I calculate the acceleration of center of mass. You could have calculated for this point, this point, this point, any point in exam they can ask. I have chosen this point. Why I chose this point? Because I wanted stress here. So to find stress here, I have to consider this part as system. So I will need acceleration of center of mass of this point, of this system, I mean, which is this P point. What will be the tangential acceleration of this point? 0, because r will be 0, right? And for this point, if they ask alpha into capital L. So like that, they can ask acceleration of different points here in your JEE exam. Finish, students? Yeah. After this, we will do fluids. Some nice questions are there. Some of them I have done in AAC last year, but still you guys may not remember also. Okay, so two formulae I am giving from elasticity, which are quite difficult to remember because no derivation, but still. So the first formula is, imagine you have a beam which is fixed. Beam, okay, bridge. You can think of it as a bridge also. When you put a load here, of W, let's say mg, mass is m, then the whole thing will bend. It will not bend as much as I'm showing to you. Little bit it will bend. Okay, so the center of the beam will be depressed. It will be depressed by some distance. Delta, let me call it. So that delta formula you should remember. W L cube by 4 B D cube into y. Now, what are these things? W is the weight, so that is expected. The more is W, the more will be deflection. That is expected. Other things are not expected, but Young's modulus is expected, because if Young's modulus is more, it will not bend so much, right? So this is Young's modulus. So if Young's modulus is more, this will be less. That you have to try to remember. So since if you are making a bridge as an engineer, you want small deflection. So you have to choose a material with large Young's modulus. And one of the best material which has large Young's modulus is steel. What is this L and BD? L is this length, okay. B is the breadth, I think. Yeah, it is the breadth. Okay. B is this. And D stands for depth. Depth matlab this rod will have some depth, no, inside. So let me show B this side. So this is B and depth is this. So this is your depth. Okay, so those who have good memory, at least by chance if they ask, you should not lose marks. Second formula is I'm giving you a cylinder kind of thing, which could be a wire also, thin wire, whose lower end is fixed. Then I'm giving it a torque like this torque, okay, twisting torque. This is your twisting torque. In second PU, such a concept we have studied in galvanometer. Remember galvanometer, restoring torque was there, which will try to balance the deflecting torque, right? Okay. So here is a torque. So this is your radius line R. This is your length L. And when you apply this twisting torque, let's say theta be the angle of twist. Angle of twist. Matlab by theta angle, it deflects. Then the relation is torque is equal to eta R power 4 pi divided by 2L times theta. So if you remember, this bracket thing is what we wrote in that galvanometer topic. We wrote this bracket thing as what? You remember or not? C. Yeah, and that was your torsion constant. Torsion constant. I have done the derivation of this actually, but it came out too lengthy. So I don't think it is beneficial for you guys also, and it is wastage of my time also to do the derivation. But there is a nice derivation we can do for this. So what you should try to remember again is eta is here, R power 4 is here, L is here. Okay, those things you remember. Again, I'm saying these questions are least expected, like 1% chance only. So I don't think you should worry so much about how to remember them. Okay, now when we were doing the last question in fluid mechanics, the last number we completed was 4 finished, 5 finished, 6 we have to do. Check once, Shravani. 6 I think we have to start. Okay. In engineering, no, you will derive this formula 100%. Okay, so question number 6, we are back to now fluid mechanics. Okay. Fluid mechanics 1. I have divided into many sections. So this is I'm calling 1. So question number 6, quite simple. A cylindrical block of length 2L is made up of 2 different materials. Upper half has density D1 and lower half has density D2, which is heavier. So lower one is heavier. The block is floating in a liquid of unknown density D with length L by 2 outside. So there is a composite rod, composite. This whole length is 2L. This part is L. This part is L. This is made of density rho 1. They have given D, but I don't want to write D for density. So this is density D, rho 1, and this is rho 2. Rho 2 is bigger than rho 1 because this is heavier. And they told it is floating in water, sorry. It is floating in water with L by 2 outside. So L by 2 is outside. So they are asking you find rho, which is density of liquid. So this rho. So simple because it is floating. If it is floating, matlab it is at rest. So in equilibrium, the buoyant force should balance the gravitational force. Buoyant force is the total force on the body by the liquid. Full stop. Nothing to worry too much. How to calculate buoyant force? Weight of the liquid displaced by the body. So weight of the liquid displaced will be density of liquid. Volume of liquid displaced will be, let us say this area is A. So volume of the liquid displaced will be area into the length which is inside. which is L plus L by 2. So this is density, this is volume. So this whole thing is mass. So this is mass of the liquid displaced into G. That is your buoyant force. This is mass of the rod. Now mass of the rod, mass of this will be density into volume. Mass of this, density into volume into G. Okay, simple question, this one. So area is common. Here it will be 3G is common. 3L by 2, rho 1 plus rho 2, L. So L also cancels. So density of the liquid is 2 times sum of the density of the two parts of the rod divided by 3. Okay, that's it. So you just need to know how to calculate buoyant force. It is the weight of the liquid displaced by the body. Anytime weight is there, you have to find mass of the liquid displaced. Here I can teach you one small interesting thing, and that is for stable equilibrium, the center of mass of the body which is floating should be below center of mass of fluid or liquid displaced. Okay, so this is something important. For example, in this problem, this part is more dense than this part, right? So center of mass of this rod and this rod will not be at the center, it will be somewhere here. So this is center of mass of the rod of the body. Center of mass of liquid displaced. Now this is the liquid displaced, the red color, let me show. This is the liquid displaced, okay, the red color. So center of mass of liquid, because liquid is uniform, so center of mass of liquid will be here. This is center of mass of liquid displaced. This is center of mass of the rod. So you can see center of mass of rod. I should have used red color for this. Wait. This is center of mass of liquid. And this is center of mass of rod. So you can see center of mass of rod is below. So this is in stable equilibrium. Matlab, if you deflect this side or that side, see what will happen. So let me deflect this slightly like this. Okay, so if I deflect this slightly here, the weight of the rod always acts at center of mass of the rod. Okay, and buoyant force is always upward, but where it will act? Buoyant force is also weight of the liquid displaced by the body. So it will act at the center of mass of liquid displaced. So buoyant force will act here. Okay, so you can see what these two forces will do, right? If you deflect it and you leave it, these two forces will create a torque like this. So these two forces will create a torque like this, right? One force is here, one force is here. So it will try to come back. That is why I'm saying it is in stable equilibrium. What if center of mass of the rod was above? See what will happen. If you deflect like this and center of mass of the rod is above, then mg will act here. And center of mass of liquid is below. Now you can see what these two forces will do. This will create torque like this. Okay, and therefore the whole thing will fall down. So you may have experience, right? If something heavy is here, it will float in stable equilibrium if the heavy part is below. So ships and all, which you have, ships and all, people don't put heavy objects at the top. If you keep heavy objects at the top, center of mass will go up. So if the center of mass goes too much up and it becomes above the center of mass of liquid like this, this is center of mass of rod, then the system will not be in stable equilibrium. So if it deflects slightly, it will just keep on going like that. So I got a chance to explain this in this question, so I did it. There is another part to this question. Show that D is greater than 4D1 by 3. So we have to show rho is greater than 4 rho 1 by 3. Show they are asking. So I think we can show easily. This part is done. So remember, for stable equilibrium, the center of mass of the body should be below the center of mass of liquid displaced. Now from here, I can write this as 3 rho by 2 equal to rho 1 plus rho 2. Now they are asking to show this. Now I think in question somewhere they have given rho 2 is greater than rho 1. So substitute rho 2 from here. 3 rho by 2 minus rho 1 should be greater than rho 1. So 3 rho by 2 should be greater than 2 rho 1. So rho should be greater than cross multiply 4 rho 1 by 3. Quite simple actually, nothing is there. They have already given this, no? And already we know this formula. So you can easily express rho in terms of rho 1. My favorite questions are much below. I don't think today we can reach 14 and 15 are my favorite questions. Okay. Finished? Okay. Next question you see. A solid wooden cone has been supported by a string inside the water as shown in the figure. So there is a cone like this. Okay, cone. The height of the cone is not given, but radius of the cone is given. Radius is R. Radius is R. Okay. And the volume of the cone, so nice, directly volume only they have given. Do you guys know the formula for volume of cone? I don't think I remember. Pi r square h by 3. Pi r square h by 3. Correct? Huh? Pi r square h by 3, is it? Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
So see, I remember. Ma. But here I don't have to worry because they have given volume of cone. So answer should be in terms of this. So volume of cone is given. In equilibrium, the base of the cone is at a depth h below the surface of water. So here is the surface of water. This is at a depth h, the base. Okay, the whole thing is water. Okay. Density of the wood is D. So for this wood, density is given rho, I'll write, which is less than density of water. So they have written D here, and for water they have used W. I will do like this, B I'll write. So for bodies, no, I will write rho B. For liquid, if it is water, I will write rho W. Yeah, I can mention. This is the density of the wood, which is the cone. So it's very clear, students. See here, density of the wood is less. So this body will rise because buoyant force will be more because water has more density. So weight of the liquid will be more for water than compared to body. So buoyant force will be more, so it will rise. So to stop it from rising, they have put a string here. They have put a string. Okay, so that's the question. Let us see what they have asked. This is the description. First question, find the tension in the string. Since it is getting pulled like this, the string will pull it back, right? So tension force will be like this. Tension is always along the string away from the body. Then the whole volume I know, so I can find the buoyant force. And wherever is the center of mass, mg will act. Right, that's it. Nothing, no other forces. Don't worry about force here, because buoyant force means the total force on the body by the liquid. Total force, including here or here or here. So I don't have to worry which point it is acting. So in equilibrium, since net force should be 0, buoyant force should balance mg plus tension. So tension should be buoyant force minus mg. That's it, finished. Now write in terms of given quantity. Buoyant force is weight of the liquid. So density of water, volume of water displaced will be same as volume of the cone, because this time the whole cone is inside. Since the whole cone is inside, volume of water displaced will be same as volume of cone. Volume of water displaced will be same as volume of cone into G minus mass of the cone is not given. So let me write mass of the body also in terms of density of body. Volume of the body is same only into G. So tension is rho W minus rho B into V. So it is very important, students, for tension in this problem, okay, because the wire is here, not here. Since the wire is below, it is very important that this is greater than this. Okay, so for example, imagine if ulta it was ulta. Suppose density of body was greater. Then the body will sink and this string will never be able to apply force on the cone like this. Because once the body tries to fall down, the wire will become loose, right? So if this was the case, the cone will just sit on the floor and the string will be somewhere here. So please understand, this is very important in order for this wire to have some tension. However, here tension will be 0 if it was like this and the wire was below. However, because I'm getting a chance to teach something else, first you finish it quickly, I'll tell you something extra. Okay. However, suppose it was not a string, but it was a spring. Suppose it was a spring, then both cases will be allowed, because now this will, if spring was not there, this force is more than this force, right? So when the spring is there, this will try to go up, and in equilibrium, this spring will stretch like this. So restoring force, spring force will be like this. Okay, and it will stretch like this. So spring force will be like this. And this T you will write Kx. What is K? Spring constant. X is the extension. extension of spring. If string was replaced by spring. If string was replaced by spring, then this tension will be replaced by spring force. And if this is the case, then also no problem. Then what will happen? The spring will get compressed. For this case, it will be like this. Let me show you a small version. So it will get compressed. So buoyant force is up, mg is down, and this time mg will be more, so it will get compressed, so spring force will be here. And x will be compression. Okay, compression, not extension. So if it was spring, this is also possible, this is also possible. But if it is string, then this is not possible because the string will not be able to exert a upward force. Strings will always pull the body. Strings cannot push. But springs can push also, pull also, depending on whether it is extension or compression. So if the spring is compressed like this, it will push the object this way. There is another part to this question. And that is, find the force applied by the water on the slant surface of the cone. So there is a slant surface, right? So on that surface, what is the force created or force exerted by water? That is difficult because the surface area is very difficult to calculate. So we will use some idea. Look here, trick we will use. This is the cone, right? This is the cone. And you know, the base of the cone is at a height h. And buoyant force, already we know, density of liquid, volume of the liquid displaced into water, it is into G. So all these quantities are given in the question. Now, what is the meaning of buoyant force? It is net force on body by liquid. Right? So the liquid will exert what forces? On the base, it will exert force like this, which is pressure into area. Pressure everywhere here into area. On the slant faces, it will exert force like this. Everywhere, I cannot show you everywhere, but everywhere. Now, if I take components of this, you can see these two will cancel. Only these forces will be added. So I can replace this diagram now by saying that the liquid exerts what forces? Here, pressure into area, and here on the side, the total force will be like this. Let me write like this. So what is this? Force on slant side by water. Force on slant side by water. Okay, total of this I am showing by this total, because it acts here also, it acts here also, it acts here also, it acts there also. Correct na? So these forces, horizontal components will cancel. Only vertical components will add. So buoyant force means what? The total force on the body by the liquid, which is force on this side minus force on the slant side. And on the slant side, this is the net force. Horizontal forces will cancel. Now, force on the slant side, if I rearrange, it will be F1 minus buoyant force. Right? This is the total force. Buoyant force is the net force on body by liquid. So one force is on the base one force is on the sides, the total of which is this. Horizontal will cancel. Now both we can easily calculate. Why this is easy to calculate? Because every point is at same height. So pressure will be, if there is atmosphere, then it will be atmosphere plus rho gh into area. Area will be pi r square minus buoyant force is rho w vg. Okay, all the right side we know. Everything on the right side is given. In some questions, they may say neglect the external pressure, outside pressure, then put 0 here. So that will be your answer. So this is a very important trick to find force on curved sides of a body. Because if you try to use pressure into area, you can do that way. You can do that way. But the problem is at every point, different pressure acts. Why, sir? Because different points are at different depth or height, you can say, whichever you want. So every point is at different points are at different height. So at every point, pressure will be different, number one. Number two, area also is very unknown. Area also very difficult to find. So it is impossible or very difficult to find force on the slant side by using pressure into area. That is difficult. But buoyant force formula we know already. Weight of the liquid displaced by the body. And buoyant force means what? It is the total force on the body by the liquid, which is some force on the base, which is easy to find because base is horizontal. So every point is at same pressure and area also easy, pi r square. And on the slant side, the forces will act like this. The horizontal components will cancel, vertical components will add. And the total on the slant I have represented by this. Okay, write down. Kirti, understood? I
Yes,
think
sir.
you already knew this.
Yes, sir.
Finished? Let's see next question now. A open cylinder container has cross-section area A0. So open cylinder, cross-section area, this area A0, which is 150 centimeter square. And water has been filled in it up to height h. Okay. A cylinder made of wood, relative density 0.6, having area 125 centimeter square and length 10 centimeter, is now placed inside the container with its axis vertical. Find the distance x of the base of the wooden cylinder from the base of the container in equilibrium for the following three cases. First case, height is 8 centimeter. Second case, it is 1 centimeter, not 12 centimeter. Please change it, 1 centimeter. Third case, it is 0.8 centimeter. So one by one we will do. So what they are doing is, right now this height is h, and in the first case, the height is given. In the first case, the height is given 8 centimeter. Okay. Now they are putting a wooden cylinder here. Okay, so what will happen? This side the liquid will be displaced. So let's say this is the wooden cylinder, and the length of the wooden cylinder they told 10 centimeter. Okay, and the liquid will rise this side. Okay, so if this is your water before, now this will be your water. Okay, now students, they are asking this distance. X they are asking. Now what they have given to you, they have given you density of this is 0.6 times density of water. That is the meaning of relative density. Relative density means density of body by density of water. So right now it is in equilibrium. So buoyant force should balance the weight of the cylinder. Buoyant force will be density of water, volume of water displaced. Now how much volume is displaced? Right now we don't know. By the way, this area is given A. And that area they mentioned, it should be smaller than 150, 125. So volume of liquid displaced will be this volume, right? This volume. And that volume I can write area into this length. Let me write it as L immersed. L immersed matlab whatever length is immersed. That into G. This is the mass. And mass of the body will be density of body. Volume of body is area into total length. Total length, let me write capital L into G. Now this area will cancel. Sorry. This A will cancel. This G will cancel. So length which is immersed is equal to density of body by density of water into length of the body. So length which is immersed is this much. Now this is 0.6 and length is given 10 centimeter. So 6. Now I want my students to be little smart in exam. The moment you see this, the moment you see density of the body is 0.6 times density of water, you should immediately understand that the length which will be inside will be 0.6 times the total length. Actually, volume inside should be 0.6 times total volume. So the volume inside the water should be 0.6 times the total volume. Why it became length? Because this area is same as this area, right? So area is uniform, so it will get cancelled. So I want you guys to not waste your time here. You must try to remember that. Okay. So I came to know that this is 6 centimeter. Let me mention it in the diagram. This is 6 centimeter. Now I need to find this. For this, I need this height. So what I will do now, I will use conservation of volume. Conservation of volume, what do you mean, sir? Let's say when you put this object, the water has risen by this distance, y. This also can be asked in many exams. Okay, you put a wood, how much it will rise here. So how to find that? This you can easily find by using conservation of volume. Matlab, whatever volume of water is here, same volume should be here also. Agree or not? Whatever mass is here, same mass is here, no? So whatever mass of water is here, same mass of water is here also. So if mass is same, density of water is same only. So volume has to be same. So let us try to find the volume. So initial volume of water should be equal to final volume of water. This is a very useful concept. Now initial volume is A naught into H, this H, which they have given 8 centimeter in the first case. Here the volume will be what? Here the volume will be this volume minus this volume. Agree or not? This volume minus this volume. Right? So this volume, how can I write? y plus h, or this area is a naught. This area is a naught. This length is h plus y minus this volume. This volume will be 6. This is area is a. This area is a, remember, not a naught. A naught is this area. Now to find this volume, I have to multiply this area with length. So that will be a into 6 centimeter. Okay, which is actually length immersed. Length immersed. Okay, so let us try to see. You can see a naught h will cancel. So this will be 0 equal to a naught y minus L. Length immersed is 6. So if I bring it this side, y will be equal to a into 6 by a naught. A was given 125. A naught is given 150 into 6. Please do the calculation. It is quite simple. You can try. Hello? Ma'am, I'm in class right now. After class, I'll call you. Okay. Okay. So this will be 5 centimeter. Okay, now. So we came to know that this is 5 centimeter. Now x we can easily answer. They asked this x only, right? So where will I do it? Here I will do it. And remember, as long as it is floating, this will be 6 always. Always 6 it will be. 6 will be inside. So now this x we can find. How will I find? This height minus this height. So this height is x. This x will be, this total height is h plus y. H plus y. This is h plus y minus 6. H was in the first case 8 plus y. Y I found 5 minus 6. So how much is this? 7. This is the answer. Okay. So it was important for us to find this y using this volume conservation concept, that this volume should be same as this volume. And to find this volume, what I did, from the total volume, I subtracted this volume. Now, what will happen if this is 1, second part? Can you see what will happen? Because this will remain 6. As long as it is floating, it will be 6. So in the second part, your x will be 1 plus 5 minus 6. So it will be 0. X will be 0, matlab it will just touch. So it is like just floating. Just floating. Okay. And for anything, third case, first you write this, second case you write this, you write, and then you write this. For the third case, which is less than 1, for anything less than 1, in order to float, x should come negative, which means it cannot float. So for anything which is less than 1, it will not float. X will be 0, obviously, because it will touch. It will touch. It will hit the floor. So if h is less than 1 centimeter, x will be obviously 0 and it will not float. So quite an interesting question, because depending on this height also, it may float, it may not float, not only density. Question number 9 we will do. First we finish it. Sanjay brother is there or not? Or preparing for biology? He got tired, I think. Today, actually, I also got tired. First PU class was there, second PU, 2 classes. Tomorrow is Praveen sir's day. Tomorrow, Praveen sir is taking KVPY. You know that, no? And our Saturday classes will go to Sunday. Because Saturday, you guys will be busy for lab. Carmel students, you people started lab or not? Carmel students, lab you started last Tuesday? Yes. Okay. How many experiments you finished? 1 or 2? 2 you finished, huh? Papre. We finished 1 only. That also graph they made at home only. Okay. Chalo, next question. Question number 9. A large container has a sliding vertical wall of height h so as to divide it into 2 parts. The partition wall is connected to the left container wall by an ideal spring of force constant K. So let me try to explain with diagram. Here is a container, here is a spring, and there is a partition. The height of the partition is h. And this side is L. Now what they are doing, they are pouring water here. Question is, by the way, also they told, when the spring is relaxed, this is relaxed right now, neither compressed nor stretched, the dimension of the floor of the right part is L into B. So this is L, B is the inside part. Okay, B is the one, B is the depth, inside part, which I can't show you right now. So I'm showing you like this, 3 dimension. So B is inside. Now, water with density rho, this water here has density rho, is slowly poured into the right chamber. What is the maximum volume of water that can be stored here? How much maximum volume can you store here without spilling into the other side? So you don't want water to go this side. The partition slides without friction, so no friction on the ground. Now, once you put water here, if this was fixed, if this was a string, then obviously this cannot go here, right? Oh, sorry. If you put here, then it will go. Okay. Here, if you put a string, here. So here, if you put a string, if you put water here, then this cannot go this side because of the string. So your water will be up to here. So this is the maximum water, which is H into L into B. Volume they want. Length into breadth into height. That is the answer. But you don't have string here. You have spring here. So as you put water on the side, there will be force due to pressure, right? So that force will move the slider this side. The moment it comes this side, slowly it is coming, remember? So spring force will be that side. So in equilibrium, when it reaches this point, let's say here, when it reaches here and the water is till the top. So this is the maximum volume of water you can put. More than this, it will spill. Okay. So this length will be now how much? Let us say this is X. So this X is nothing but compression of the spring, because right now it is relaxed. Then it is compressed by X. It is compressed by X. So this is also compression in spring. And this length will be now X plus L. This will be H only. Right? Now, how do you find this X? Because it is moving very slowly. at every instant, you can assume the net force is 0. So if I draw free body diagram of the slider, there will be force from the pressure of water, force due to pressure, and there will be spring force this side, K into X. Okay, because spring is getting compressed. So if the spring is getting compressed, spring force will be this side. Now this should balance this because it is moving very slowly according to question. So in equilibrium, Kx should equal to force due to pressure, due to the water here. Now this force, how to find? You cannot write pressure into area, remember, because as you can see, different points are at different height. So to find this formula, you directly write average pressure into area. Which area? Area of the wall. Because we want force here. Now, what is the average pressure? In this problem, we will assume atmospheric pressure is 0. Otherwise, also you can do, but in this problem, to get the answer which they want, I will assume atmospheric pressure is 0. So average pressure will be what? At the top, pressure will be 0 because there is no water. This point is on the surface, so atmospheric pressure is not there, I'm saying. So pressure here is 0. Pressure here is rho gh. So average pressure will be 0 plus rho gh divided by 2. Okay, so when pressure is different at different points, you cannot write P into A. You have to write average pressure into area. And area of this wall will be what? Length into this breadth. So this, so not length, sorry, this wall, no. So height, this h into this b. So h into b. Right? You understood this part? See, the wall will look like this. The slider will look like this. So this is h and the inside distance is b. So this area will be h into b. So from here, we should find x. Rho g h square b by 2k. And once we found the x, the maximum volume that we can put here will be x plus L into h into b. And then you can substitute x here. Okay, this part you can do at the last. So in KVPY, you will see sometimes options, no, big options like this. Don't be scared. Aram se you do. By the way, if atmosphere is not taken as 0, then what will be the average pressure? Here atmosphere plus rho gh. So it will be atmosphere on top, at the bottom atmosphere plus rho gh divided by 2. So this you have to use. Okay, by chance if they mention atmospheric pressure is also there. So very beautiful question again, simple. Oh, question number 10 is wonderful. Finished? Okay. We'll stop exactly at 7, okay? Now, before I do the next question, which is a wonderful question, let me ask one tricky question, all of you. A bubble rises in water. Some container. Okay. So there is a container, there is water, and there is a bubble which will have air. Inside it will be air and it is rising. So the question is, a bubble rises in water. Does potential energy of system, gravitational potential energy I am talking about, does potential energy of system increase or decrease? What do you think? Bubble is rising, potential energy of the system increases, decreases, or remains same? CET question you think? You can guess also. Decreases, okay. Remains same, okay. So the answer is it decreases. Okay. Now, how, sir, why it should decrease? Very simple, look here. Usually when things go up, I hope all of you know potential energy increases, right? MGH. So when this object goes up, MGH increases, potential energy increases. But you have to understand, when bubble rises, same volume of water, falls or not? This you agree? False. Because if the bubble is going here, then that much water has come down, no? Or do you think this will be empty? Nothing will be here. So bubble is here. When the bubble will reach here, there will be water here now. Correct? No. So as bubble is going up, that same volume of water is coming down. Agree or not? So now when bubble rises, potential energy increases. When the water falls, potential energy decreases. So some of you may think, oh, it will remain same because one part is increasing, one part is decreasing. But whose mass will be more? Mass of the water of that volume will be more, or air mass will be more? Water's mass will be more, obviously. So since water has more mass, this decrease will be more. This increase will be less. This decrease will be more. Since mass of water is greater than mass of air for same volume. So for same volume, mass of water will be more. So the decrease in potential energy will be more than increase in potential energy. So total potential energy of system decreases. This concept is very useful to solve the next problem. Otherwise, you will fall in a big trap if you start using integration. So when bubble rises, same volume of water falls. Okay, next question you see. a sphere of radius r having negligible mass. In physics, negligible mass means mass equal to 0. I'm not going to write 0.001 like that. Negligible mass is floating in a large lake. So lake, again, these adjectives are very important. In physics, these kind of things are very important. Large lake, large. And a sphere is floating. Right? Or what is this? It's like strawberry only. Now, why sir, nothing is inside? It doesn't have mass only. So if mg is 0, it doesn't need any buoyant force, right, to balance. It will just be balanced. So it is floating like this. Now the question is, an external agent, Pankaj sir, you think, slowly pushes the sphere so as to submerge it completely. So completely we want to put it inside. How much work was done by the external agent? Density of water is rho. So we want this thing to become like this. Okay, so to do that, somebody is applying force. External. Now, since they told it is moving very slowly, work done by external force, if you remember first PU, is always delta U plus delta K. Okay, but slowly if you move, delta K will be 0 because you are not changing the kinetic energy. You are not giving acceleration. So if you don't give acceleration, speed will not increase, kinetic energy will remain same. Slowly you are moving. So change in kinetic 0. So work done by external force will be delta U. So this concept I am going to use, not that means whatever work I do, that will be equal to the change in potential energy of the system. Now listen carefully. Actually, the proper way to do, the exact way to do is you have to balance, your force should balance the buoyant force. And whatever buoyant force acts, your force should be same because I don't want acceleration. And then I have to write my force equal to buoyant force, and then I have to integrate force with displacement. Now why I have to integrate, sir? Because the buoyant force is not going to be constant throughout the motion from here to here, because when it is here, this much volume is displaced, right? When it is here, this much volume is displaced. Understanding? So buoyant force keeps on changing. So your external force also keeps on changing. So work done by external force, if you want, you have to do integration, and very complicated integration. I will not do that. Instead, look here. Instead, when this object came here, this object has no mass, forget about that. I can say this much volume of water, which, is it visible or not? Hey guys, little bit speak, ma. So this much volume of water, when this will go here, this much mass of water will go here. And since they told large, I don't have to show any increase in height. You're understanding this part? When this will come down, this much volume of water has to be displaced. But they told large lake. So I don't have to show you increase in the height. Otherwise it will become again headache. Okay. That means the change in potential energy of the system is the potential energy lost by this while coming down. But mass is 0. So gravitational potential energy, you can take 0, mgh is 0. So this much liquid, this much water has gone here. So what will be the increase in potential energy of this water? Center of mass is here, remember. Now center of mass is this line, this water, which is now here, center of mass will be here only somewhere. So center of mass of this portion has climbed from here to here. So change in potential energy will be mg shift in the center of mass. This mgh formula we know, na? That same thing. So mass of this portion of water is density of water, which is given. Volume will be same as this volume. Whatever volume this is there, that same volume will come here. So 4/3 pi r cube, and the increase in the height, center of mass which is here is now here. So it has risen by this much. So center of mass has shifted by this much, which is nothing but r. And why I can assume r? Because this lake is large. So it's finished, see, answer. So rho 4/3 pi r power 4 g. Finished. No need for any integration. I will show you that. I will take a picture and send to you if I could get time to show the integration one, but that is very lengthy. All of you understood this, enjoyed this problem? Yes or no? Very good. Okay. So I hope you guys understood that this mass, when it came down, this same mass went here. So there is a decrease in potential energy of this. So I should have subtracted that also. Mass of this g, and it is coming down from here to here, so 2r. But this I don't have to worry because this body doesn't have mass. Please make a note. And for distributed bodies like this, you have to use this. Okay, don't write directly mgh like that. Which h? So it is center of mass. For single particle, it is simple, but for distributed bodies, the height should be measured of center of mass, how much it has shifted. Okay. Next problem, you see. Again, next problem also good problem. Long back, our earth was made of molten material. Long back, I don't know which year or something. So it is molten. Consider it like a liquid. Assume it to be a uniform sphere of radius r having density d. Again, I will use rho. So our earth is considered to be a molten sphere, so liquid, water-like object you consider. Density is uniform. Uniform. That is an assumption, okay? Bulk modulus meaning infinite. Okay. Assume it to be uniform sphere. I have done that. Take acceleration due to gravity at the surface to be g. So at the surface, g is g. Acceleration due to gravity is g. Calculate the gauge pressure. Gauge pressure means pressure wherever you want minus atmospheric pressure. So calculate the gauge pressure at the center of the fluid earth. Fluid earth means liquid type earth. So at the center we have to find. Now don't tell, oh, center easy, sir. Pressure at the top, atmosphere, plus rho g, this height, which is r. This if you do wrong. Because g, you cannot consider constant during this problem. I hope you guys remember gravitation chapter. G at the center was 0. Remember? So we cannot assume g to be constant. Though density they have given constant, g we cannot take. So g varies. And I already that day I have explained what to do if g or density varies. Very simple. At some depth, h, you take a small difference of dh. at some depth h, you take a small difference dh. From here to here, when you come down, your pressure will increase because you are going towards gravity. As you move along gravity, pressure increases. So from here to here, your increase in pressure dP will be rho g dh. Okay. And no need to put minus sign because I am measuring the depth downwards. So as I increase h, pressure also increases. So this is also positive, this is also positive. Now, this is not g here, but because this is g here, so I have to add g at depth. Now this is important for me to mention very clearly because we guys, when we did gravitation chapter, what we wrote g at a depth, g at a depth, g on the surface 1 minus d by r. Remember this formula?
Yes, sir.
G at a depth. Okay, but here the only difference, the only change we have to do is depth I should write as h. And you should not consider it as height. Now you may think, why sir, write d only? If I write d, then it will be dd. dd will be confusing, no? So this d is differentiation d, differential d. So you have to be careful about that. Okay. So dP is equal to rho is rho uniform g at a depth here is g on the surface 1 minus h by r into dh. Now it is very simple. Two variables, so integrate. Constants you take outside. From where to where? From the surface to the center. So when you are on the surface, pressure is atmospheric pressure. Whatever pressure is here, I don't know. And when you reach here, the pressure will be pressure at the center. When you are here, your variable, your integration variable is h, remember. So when you are here, your depth is 0. And when you reach the center, your depth will be r. So now I think easily you can do rho g. Integration of 1 dh 0 to r will be r minus 1 by r is constant. Integration of h dh, h square by 2, put upper limit r square by 2. So I am doing the integration a little bit faster. And here you will get integration of dp will be p, put upper limit, lower limit. So p at the center minus p of atmosphere. So this is what they asked. This is called gauge pressure. Gauge pressure at center. And that is equal to rho g r minus r by 2. Rho g r by 2. Okay. So quite a nice problem this also. Or they have told us to calculate also. We will not calculate. Formula we will write. That's it. Then you put density as what they have given. Density is 5,500. Radius is 6,000. G as 10. So you can use the numbers what they have given and calculate. So remember G varies. So directly don't write pressure at the bottom is pressure at the top plus rho GH. You write it for a small difference first. For a small difference in height, you first write that formula. Because for small difference, you can take both of them constant. For small difference. Then you integrate. Finished? Last question we will do. Before I do the last question, let me just quickly revise one small thing. If you take a container with level of water like this, the level will be horizontal. Because whatever force acts on this particle, there can't be any force parallel to the surface. If there is any force parallel to the surface, the liquid will move. Whereas we are doing hydrostatics. So in equilibrium, there cannot be any force parallel to the surface. Okay, so whatever force X should be perpendicular to the surface. Now, when this is given acceleration this side, it will slant like this. The level will become like this. And you must know this angle, how much it is. So tan of this angle is always equal to A by G. So last class I have done, this is true for that pendulum also. If you take a pendulum and give acceleration like this, it will deflect in equilibrium at this angle. Maximum will be twice of that, if you remember. Maximum will be twice, but in equilibrium, the angle will be given by this formula. So this formula you should know, students. We don't have time to already again do the derivation. Last class I have done the derivation. Again, I will not do. And very standard formula because it is true for pendulum also. If you take a pendulum and if you give pendulum this car acceleration, pendulum will come like this. And this formula is same as this. Okay. So having understood this concept, in 10 minutes, let us try to solve next question. An open rectangular tank, 5 meter, 4 meter, 3 meter in dimension is containing water up to 2 meter, is accelerated horizontally along the longer side. So longer side is 5 meter. So this is your tank. This is 5 meter. They have not told which is the top one. Okay, so I will assume this is 3 meter. And the depth inside is 4 meter. So this is 4 meter. Okay, that's inside. And water is filled up to 2 meter. Water is filled up to 2 meter. Now the question is, this has been given horizontal acceleration along the longer side, parallel to this side. Assuming water to be ideal, which we will do anyways, find the maximum acceleration which the tank can be given without water falling from the rear side. Now, if you give too much acceleration, the water will become too much like this. If it becomes too much like this, once it comes out here, then it will spill because this container will go this side, so water will fall. So when you give it acceleration, to find the maximum acceleration, you should assume the level will become like this. Now this point will be here or here or here. I have no idea right now. This point, it can be here, 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 wherever. It can't be above. It can't be above this point, but this point will be below. So let's say now I know that this is the whatever acceleration can be given right now, that is the maximum. If you give more than that, this angle will be more, so water will come out. So this is theta, and we know formula for tan theta, A by G. A they are asking, which means we need to find tan theta in some geometrical way. So to find tan theta, you can see already you know 5 meter here, so you need to know this distance. So let me call this as, I don't know, this is x. Then this will be 3 minus x. Not 2 minus x because the side container is 3. Okay, here I assume 3. So this will be 3 minus x. Now what we will do? Water conservation. Remember I told volume conservation. This volume and this volume should be same. So volume here must be equal to volume here till water doesn't come out. Now what is the volume of this? This length into this breadth, that is the area, into this depth. So this area is 5 into 2. Don't write 3 by mistake. Be very careful. I'm saying volume of water, not container. Container's volume, why I'll be interested. So volume of water initial will be 5 into 2. That is your area into depth. Now this concept is important. Area into depth. That concept is important here. Here it may be easy, sir. Length into breadth into height. Here it will be important. Now this volume will be what? Let us first find this volume. So 3 minus x, this side into this side. That is area into depth. So this is area, this is depth. Plus this one, this area. Half into base is 5, into height, into depth is 4. Okay, so from here, tell me x, anyone? Take your time, no problem. Last question anyways.
2.
5 2s are 10, 10 into 4, 40, 20, 60 minus 20x, then something x will come, 10x. Should not be a very complicated problem.
2, sir.
Two, huh? Okay. So x is coming 2. So once I got this x, now it is easy. Come to this formula. Tan theta is opposite is x, 2, adjacent is 5. This is 5, no? 5 equal to a by g. So a will be 2g by 5, which I can write 20 by 5, 4 meter per second. Fine, friends. Thanks for today. 5 minutes. I'm leaving early. Tired actually. We will do remaining questions after we finish the revision for next topic. 5, 6 questions are there. Good questions. All are very good questions. Thank you. Finish it. Yeah, thanks. No issue.